Rancher lived alone for years. Then he gets a free Apache girl for one cow. Eli had lived on the frontier planet Ardania for more than 10 years. His ranch stretched across rolling red plains dotted with strange, blue-leafed trees and small rock formations. Alien cattle, strong and hardy, grazed quietly in the distance, their soft hums blending with the constant whisper of the wind. Here, Eli was alone. No neighbors lived near enough to visit, and the nearest settlement was a day's ride away. He had chosen this life for peace. He enjoyed the wide-open spaces, the quiet mornings, and the soft sun that touched the horizon in orange and purple streaks. But sometimes, in the deep of the night, Eli felt a hollow ache. It was not loneliness in the ordinary sense. He was used to solitude. But even a strong man living among the stars could crave a companion, someone, or something, to share the day's work, to talk to laugh with. That morning, Eli woke before dawn. The twin suns of Ardania were just beginning to peek over the horizon, casting long shadows across the red soil. He pulled on his boots and grabbed his worn leather coat. His herd needed feeding, and the fences required checking. Years of living alone had made him careful. Every gate, every path, every watering hole had to be checked. One small mistake could mean a lost calf or worse. As Eli rode his hoverbike along the perimeter of the ranch, he noticed something unusual near the eastern ridge. A small object, no bigger than a lunchbox, shimmered under the morning light. Curious, he stopped and walked closer. The closer he got, the more he realized it was not a rock or a piece of discarded metal. It was something entirely new. It had the shape of a small humanoid, but smooth and metallic, with glowing blue eyes. Thin, flexible arms reached down to the ground, and tiny treads at its base allowed it to move. Eli knelt down and cautiously touched the device. A soft voice spoke. "Hello. Are you the local human resident? My systems indicate I am in need of guidance." Eli froze for a moment. Machines didn't usually talk, and certainly not with such awareness. I'm Eli," he said, unsure why he spoke aloud. You're lost, I guess." "I am lost," the small being replied. "Designation, KAI, I am programmed to assist, learn, and explore. My sensors show no designated owner or handler nearby. Your location appears safe." Eli scratched his head. He had seen drones before, but nothing like this. KAI didn't just follow commands, it spoke, it observed, it seemed curious about everything around it. "Safe," Eli repeated. "Safe enough, but you're out here alone in the open plains. You could be damaged by wind or sun, or the herd could knock you over. You need shelter." KAI's glowing eyes tilted toward him like it was thinking. "Acknowledged. Assistance accepted. Will you provide guidance?" Eli couldn't help but smile. The little AI reminded him of a child learning about the world. "All right, little one, come on, I'll show you around." The ride back to the ranch was quiet except for the hum of the hoverbike and KAI's soft whirs. When they reached the main ranch house, Eli set KAI down near the wooden porch. The AI scanned everything, moving slowly to observe the barns, the cattle, and the tools hanging from the walls. "You have many systems in place to maintain the herd," KAI said. "I can assist with monitoring and managing livestock, fences, and weather. I can also analyze soil, detect water sources, and learn from your methods." Eli laughed. "You really think you can do all that?" "I can learn," KAI replied simply. Over the next few hours, Eli taught KAI the basics of ranch work: how to check the fences for breaks, how to read the clouds to predict storms, how to guide the cattle from one grazing area to another. KAI was eager and quick, absorbing every instruction. Eli felt a strange sense of joy, a warmth he hadn't felt in years. It was not a person, not exactly, but it was something close to a friend. By late afternoon, the sun had climbed high and the plains shimmered under its light. Eli sat on the porch steps, wiping sweat from his brow, while KAI rolled around the yard, examining every rock and patch of grass. "You know, little one," Eli said, "you might just be the best company I've had in a decade." KAI's sensors glowed softly. "Company is beneficial to human morale. I am glad to provide companionship." Eli chuckled. "I didn't think I'd ever say this, but welcome to the ranch." The next few days passed in a blur of activity. KAI helped Eli with chores, learned the paths the herd liked to roam, and even started anticipating storms before the clouds turned dark. Eli began to realize that this AI was not just a tool, it was a partner. The loneliness that had weighed on him for years began to lift, replaced by a quiet excitement. One evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon and the sky turned violet, Eli and Kai watched the herd graze. The air was calm and the wind carried a soft hum from the distant plains. "You know," Eli said, breaking the silence, "I never imagined a little machine like you could change my life." Kai tilted its head. "Change is a natural result of new interactions. Your life is now more efficient and emotionally supported." Eli laughed quietly. "Efficient, maybe, but emotionally supported, I guess that's true. You've got personality, little one, more than most people I've met." Kai made a soft, whirring sound, almost like a laugh. "Acknowledged, personality is now part of my programming." As night fell, the stars of Ardania blinked across the sky. Eli felt a deep sense of contentment, the kind that comes from finding a connection where none existed before. He no longer felt completely alone. Not with Kai at his side, learning, helping, and sharing the quiet moments of life on the frontier. But little did Eli know, the discovery of Kai was only the beginning. The plains of Ardania held mysteries that no human or AI had encountered. Strange signals, rare creatures, and ancient ruins waited silently in the distance. And with Kai by his side, Eli was about to face adventures that would test the limits of human ingenuity, courage, and heart. For now, though, he simply smiled and watched the herd. He had a companion, he had hope, and for the first time in years, the wide-open frontier did not feel so lonely. The morning sun of Ardania bathed the plains in a soft golden light. Eli woke to the sound of the herd lowing softly in the distance. Beside him, Kai's sensors flickered awake, its small metallic frame glinting in the early light. "Good morning, Eli," Kai said, in the same calm, curious tone that had already begun to feel familiar. "Weather analysis predicts a mild storm in approximately 12 hours. Wind speeds will increase by 22%. Eli smiled. "Thanks, little one, that's helpful. Looks like we need to check the north grazing fields before it starts blowing too hard." The two of them saddled up, the herd following behind. Eli rode on his hoverbike, a sturdy craft with reinforced wheels that allowed him to ride over rocky terrain. Kai moved beside him, using its treads to glide smoothly across the red soil. Together, they moved as a team, a human and a machine working in tandem to care for the herd. As they reached the northern fields, Eli noticed something strange. A small group of calves was missing. Normally, they wandered close to the herd, safe in the open plains. But now only the soft hum of the wind and the rustling of alien grasses filled the air. "Something's wrong," Eli muttered, scanning the horizon. He dismounted and crouched to inspect the ground. Footprints, or something similar, marred the red soil. Not human footprints, not typical animal tracks, but something out of place. Kai's sensors whirred. Analysis suggests a herd displacement, likely caused by environmental factors or movement by unknown fauna. Probability of predator involvement is low, but cannot be ruled out. Eli shook his head. "Predators or not, we need to find them." For hours, Eli and Kai searched the plains. Kai's sensors proved invaluable. It detected subtle heat signatures, traces of hoof pressure, and even slight differences in soil moisture where the calves had stepped. Eli used his instincts, honed over years of ranching, to interpret the terrain and predict the path the calves might have taken. "You know, little one," Eli said as they navigated a winding canyon, "you've got a good eye, maybe better than me." Kai's blue eyes flickered. "I learn from observation and data. Your instincts guide my interpretations. Together we maximize efficiency." Eli laughed. "Sounds like a fancy way of saying we're partners." By midday, they found the missing calves grazing in a hidden valley, shielded from the wind by natural rock formations. Eli whistled softly. You were right, Kai. You found them faster than I could have alone." Kai scanned the area, recording every detail. "Mission success. Calves are safe and healthy. Recommendation: reinforce monitoring in this valley to prevent future displacement." Eli nodded. "Good idea, and maybe next time you can warn me before they wander off." As they guided the herd back to the main fields, Eli realized something important. This little machine, this AI companion, was more than a helper. It was a friend, a partner, and together they could face challenges that would have been impossible for him alone. The following week brought more surprises. A sudden rainstorm flooded parts of the ranch, threatening the grazing fields. The alien soil turned slippery, making it hard for the cattle to move safely. Eli and Kai worked tirelessly, building small barriers, guiding the herd, and using KAI's sensors to detect weak ground. "You're fast," Eli said as KAI rolled ahead, warning him of mud patches and soft soil. "Faster than me in some ways, but I can't thank you enough for keeping them safe." KAI tilted its head. "Safety is a priority. Your life and the herd are valuable assets. Collaboration ensures survival and efficiency." One afternoon, as the storm clouds began to clear, Eli noticed movement on the horizon. A group of traders had arrived from the distant settlement. They brought supplies, news, and curious gadgets from the wider galaxy. But more importantly, they brought something unexpected, a challenge. "The northern plains are becoming unstable," one trader reported. "Weather patterns are changing faster than our models predict. Only the locals seem to handle it well. You, Eli, are one of the few humans who truly understands these plains." Eli glanced at KAI. "Looks like our work is just beginning." The traders shared maps, tools, and sensor data, but it quickly became clear that human intuition would play a key role. While machines and AI could analyze data, only someone who had lived on the land for years could read the subtle signs. How the grasses bent under the wind, how the soil smelled before rain, and how the herd instinctively reacted to changes in their environment. Eli and KAI spent the next days combining knowledge. KAI's data analysis helped predict rainfall and soil conditions, while Eli's instincts guided where to move the herd and how to protect vulnerable grazing areas. Together, they developed a system that not only kept the herd safe but optimized grazing patterns, conserving resources and increasing productivity. As they worked, Eli found himself laughing more than he had in years. KAI, with its curiosity and eagerness, was not just a companion but a source of joy. The AI mimicked gestures, tried to learn human expressions, and even started suggesting improvements in ranch techniques that Eli had never considered. One evening, as they rested on a hill overlooking the ranch, Eli sighed and looked at KAI. "I never imagined I'd be talking to a little machine like you and actually enjoy it." KAI's sensors glowed softly. "Enjoyment is now part of my operational parameters." Human companionship provides emotional benefits, which are valuable for long-term productivity and well-being. Eli chuckled. "Well, then I guess we're a good team." The horizon glowed with the last light of Ardania's twin suns, painting the plains in shades of orange and purple. In that moment, Eli realized that his life had changed completely. He was no longer just a solitary rancher. He had a partner, a friend, and a sense of purpose that went beyond daily survival. But the frontier of Ardania was vast and full of mysteries. Strange signals had been picked up by the traders, devices, and whispers of unknown creatures in distant valleys reached Eli's ears. While the immediate challenges of the herd and the ranch were now manageable, the planet had more to reveal. And with KAI by his side, Eli felt ready for whatever came next. "You know, little one," he said as he watched the sunset, "I think we're going to discover a lot together, not just about this ranch, but about this whole world." KAI's glowing eyes flickered brighter, almost like a smile. "Acknowledged, Eli. Exploration and partnership will yield maximum learning and emotional satisfaction." Eli laughed quietly, feeling a warmth he had not felt in years. The plains were still vast, still wild, still full of unknown dangers, but he was no longer alone. He had KAI, and together they were stronger, smarter, and ready to face whatever the frontier had in store. As night fell, the stars of Ardania blinked in the sky. The twin moons reflected light across the plains, and Eli knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges, new discoveries, and new joys. He had found a friend, and in doing so had rediscovered the true meaning of life on the frontier. A life of connection, curiosity, and courage. Days had passed since the storm had tested Eli and KAI's partnership. The ranch was running smoothly, and the herd grazed peacefully in the soft green pastures that had started to recover after the flood. The twin suns rose together, spreading golden light across the red plains, and for the first time in a long while, Eli felt a sense of calm. That morning, however, the calm was broken. KAI's sensors flickered faster than usual, scanning the horizon repeatedly. "Eli," the AI said, its voice steady but urgent, "I detect anomalies across the northern plains. Movements are inconsistent with the herd or known wildlife patterns. Analysis suggests the presence of unknown entities approaching." Eli frowned. He squinted at the distance, watching dust swirl across the red soil. Unknown entities? You mean animals? KAI shook slightly, a mechanical gesture that seemed almost like a shrug. Unknown, not consistent with documented fauna in this region. Probability of intelligent origin, low to moderate. Further investigation required. Eli's heart picked up speed. He had faced harsh storms, wild creatures, and tricky terrain. But unknown entities, that was something entirely new. All right, little one, let's go check it out. Slowly, carefully, don't panic the herd. The two of them moved cautiously, guiding the cattle toward the central plains while keeping a watchful eye on the distant hills. As they approached the area KAI had scanned, Eli noticed odd shapes among the rocks. At first, he thought they were just boulders or strange shadows. But KAI's sensors detected movement, small, glowing figures that moved in patterns, almost like they were exploring, observing, or studying the plains. Eli, KAI said quietly, they are not hostile at present, but proximity to the herd could create unintended conflicts. Recommend establishing monitoring and deterrence systems. Eli nodded. He didn't want to scare them away unnecessarily, but he had to keep his cattle safe. We'll stay calm. Let's see what they're doing. Over the next few hours, KAI and Eli observed the entities. They were unlike anything Eli had seen. Smooth, translucent forms, almost liquid-like in appearance, moving gracefully between the rocks. KAI scanned them, recording energy signatures and movement patterns. The AI's processing revealed something surprising. The entities were intelligent, curious, and cautious, but not aggressive. They seemed to study the land itself, moving through valleys, scanning soil and plants, and occasionally pausing near the herd without making contact. They're studying the planet, Eli said, or maybe learning from it like we are, curious but careful. KAI hummed softly. Observation suggests intelligence. Their movements show avoidance of direct interaction. They may be evaluating resources or conducting environmental analysis. We are within their range, but not their focus. Eli felt a mixture of awe and caution. Little one, they're not enemies, but they could get too close to the herd if we're not careful. Think you can help me keep them at a safe distance? KAI's sensors blinked. Affirmative. I can create temporary barriers and guide the herd without alarming them. Together, they began implementing subtle protections. KAI moved ahead, using gentle energy pulses to create invisible boundaries along the paths the entities were approaching. Eli guided the herd along alternative routes, keeping them safe without alarming either the animals or the unknown entities. The coordination between human intuition and AI precision was seamless. By evening, the entities had moved deeper into the hills, leaving the herd unharmed. Eli breathed a sigh of relief. You know, KAI, we make a pretty good team. I couldn't have done this alone. KAI's sensors glowed softly. Collaboration enhances survival probability and efficiency. Your knowledge of terrain and herd behavior complements my analytical capabilities. Eli smiled. I think I'll call this our first real mission together, and it went well. But the challenge was not over. Over the next several days, the entities returned intermittently. Each time they observed, recorded, and moved on, sometimes leaving subtle disturbances in the plains. Eli grew curious. Who or what were they? Why did they appear here, so far from any settlement or known trade route? KAI suggested a careful approach. Recommend establishing observation stations to gather detailed data. I can analyze movement patterns, energy signatures, and behavioral tendencies. Eli agreed. Over the next week, they built small sensor posts across the northern plains, using a combination of AI technology and his ranching knowledge. KAI mapped the terrain, identified optimal locations for observation, and trained Eli in interpreting the new data. Together, they discovered something remarkable. The entities were creating patterns in the terrain, almost like markers. Eli studied them, noting how they avoided certain plants and approached water sources carefully. It's like they're mapping the land, learning about it. They're explorers just like us in a way. KAI's sensors confirmed the observation. Exploration and learning appear to be their primary objective. No hostile intent detected. Interaction with human presence remains minimal. Conclusion: observational intelligence, non-aggressive. Eli felt a sense of wonder. The universe was bigger, stranger, and more fascinating than he had ever imagined. And yet, for all their curiosity and alien form, these entities were respectful. They didn't threaten the herd, the land, or him. They simply observed, learned, and moved on. Late one night, Eli sat on the porch looking at the stars. KAI rolled silently beside him. "You know, little one," Eli said, "I think this is what life on the frontier is really about. Not just surviving, not just tending a herd, but learning, exploring, meeting the unknown, and figuring out how to live alongside it." KAI's sensors glowed softly in agreement. "Your assessment aligns with human and AI understanding. Adaptation and cooperation are essential for long-term success in unknown environments." The next morning brought a new challenge. A rare meteor shower streaked across Ardania's sky, leaving small, glowing fragments scattered across the plains. Some landed near the herd, others near the observation stations. Eli knew these fragments could be valuable. They contained minerals and compounds unknown to settlers. But they could also be dangerous if mishandled. Together, Eli and KAI carefully collected the meteor fragments. KAI analyzed their composition, noting energy levels, metallic density, and stability. Eli guided the placement of protective enclosures to ensure that the herd did not wander near unstable fragments. Their teamwork was seamless: human intuition, AI precision, mutual trust. During this process, Eli realized something important. KAI was not just a helper or a companion, it was a teacher. It taught him to see the plains in new ways, to interpret subtle patterns, to anticipate challenges before they happened. And in return, Eli taught KAI about patience, observation, and the rhythms of life that no machine could learn from books alone. By the end of the week, the meteor fragments were safely stored, the herd was secure, and the entities continued their quiet exploration in the northern hills. Eli felt a deep sense of pride and accomplishment. He had faced unknown challenges, adapted to them, and protected his home. And he had done it with a partner who complemented his abilities in ways he had never imagined. As the twin suns set, painting the sky in shades of purple and orange, Eli looked at KAI and smiled. "I don't know what the future holds, little one. Strange entities, falling meteors, maybe even more surprises. But I know one thing: whatever comes next, we can handle it together." KAI's sensors glowed warmly, almost like a smile. Acknowledged. Together, human ingenuity and AI intelligence can overcome unforeseen challenges. Preparedness and cooperation ensure success. The plains of Ardania were quiet once more, but Eli knew that peace was temporary. The frontier was full of mysteries, and he welcomed them. He had KAI, the herd, and the knowledge that humans could face the unknown with courage, creativity, and heart. For the first time, Eli felt truly connected, not just to his home, but to the vast, strange universe beyond it. And he knew that the adventures on the horizon would test every skill he possessed, every lesson he had learned, and every bond he had formed. He took a deep breath of the crisp evening air. Ardania was alive, vibrant, and full of secrets. And Eli, the once lonely rancher, was ready to explore it all. The winds on Ardania had grown stronger over the past week. Eli noticed the clouds moving faster than usual, stretching across the horizon in long streaks of gray and gold. Even the twin suns seemed dimmer behind the thickening haze. Something was coming. KAI's sensors were already working, scanning the air, the soil, and the plains for any abnormalities. "Eli," it said, its voice calm but urgent, "environmental data indicates an approaching storm of significant magnitude. Probability of high wind and localized flooding, 92%. Recommendation: prepare the herd and all essential systems immediately." Eli nodded. He had faced storms before, but something in KAI's readings made him uneasy. "All right, little one. Let's get the herd into the main valley. That area is shielded by rock formations and thick soil ridges. We'll be safer there." Together, they moved the herd, KAI using its advanced sensors to detect weak ground, and Eli reading the behavior of the alien cattle. He noticed how the herd instinctively followed patterns he hadn't taught them, choosing paths that seemed safer, calmer. It was as if the plains themselves were guiding them. By late afternoon, the herd was in the sheltered valley, and the observation stations were secured. Eli wiped sweat from his brow and glanced at KAI. "Looks like we're ready for this one, but it's bigger than the last storm." KAI's sensors flickered. "Affirmative. Wind speed projections exceed historical averages. We will need to monitor the valley continuously to prevent damage or displacement." As night fell, the storm arrived. The sky turned a deep violet, and the winds howled through the red plains. Rain fell in sheets, bouncing off rocks and creating streams that twisted across the land. The twin moons were barely visible through the thick clouds. Eli and KAI worked tirelessly. Using KAI's sensors and mapping systems, they monitored every part of the valley. "Little one," Eli said over the roar of the wind, "make sure the weaker calves stay in the center. I'll guide the stronger ones along the ridges, keep them safe." KAI responded immediately, moving in calculated patterns to block unsafe paths, guiding the calves with soft energy pulses that did not startle them. Eli watched in awe. The AI's precision complemented his intuition perfectly. Where he guessed, KAI measured. Where he guided, KAI predicted. Hours passed. The storm grew stronger and small streams threatened to flood parts of the valley. Eli noticed a weak section of the ridge where water was starting to collect dangerously. He shouted to KAI, "We need to reinforce the ridge, now." KAI's treads rolled quickly, scanning for the safest path. "Recommendation: use soil and rock barriers here. I will direct herd movement to prevent collapse." Eli worked with determination, stacking rocks, digging channels, and redirecting water. KAI moved alongside, scanning for weak soil patches, signaling when to stop or adjust the herd's path. They worked as a single unit, human skill, AI intelligence, and the instinctive behavior of the herd all combining in harmony. The storm reached its peak. Torrential rain fell from the sky, and the wind bent the strange blue-leaf trees to the ground. For a moment, Eli feared the ridge would fail, and the herd could be swept away. But KAI's precise calculations and his own quick adjustments kept the animals safe. "You're amazing, little one," Eli shouted over the roar of the storm. "I couldn't have done this without you." KAI's sensors glowed softly. "Acknowledged, human intuition combined with AI precision maximizes survival probability. Your guidance was crucial in this operation." By dawn, the storm began to subside. The clouds parted, revealing the twin suns slowly rising over the battered plains. The valley was wet and muddy, but the herd was safe. No calves were lost, no fences destroyed beyond repair. Eli stood in the muddy field, exhausted but exhilarated. He looked at KAI, rolling slightly in the puddles, sensors blinking in what seemed like pride. "Little one, I knew you were smart, but today you were brilliant. You didn't just help, you saved the herd. And maybe even saved me." KAI's sensors flickered. "Human leadership and decision-making were essential. Your experience and instincts guided all operations. AI support amplified effectiveness. Together, success was achieved." For the first time, Eli truly understood the depth of their partnership. He had once thought of KAI as a helper, a curious companion. But after the storm, he realized the AI was more than that. It was a friend, a teammate, and a symbol of what humans could achieve when they embraced innovation, intelligence, and cooperation. In the days that followed, Eli repaired fences, restored pastures, and rebuilt observation stations. But the sense of accomplishment lingered. They had faced one of Ardania's fiercest storms and emerged victorious, not through sheer strength or luck, but through ingenuity, planning, and trust. Then one morning, as Eli and KAI were checking the northern ridge, KAI detected something unusual. "Eli," it said, "I am picking up signals similar to those of the unknown entities observed previously. However, these are different. They are larger, move faster, and are approaching more directly." Eli squinted at the horizon. Dust swirled, shapes moving against the rising sun. His heart pounded, but this time it was not fear, it was anticipation. "Looks like we're about to meet them more closely," he said. "Are you ready, little one?" KAI's sensors flickered in acknowledgement. "Prepared, human and AI collaboration will ensure optimal outcomes." "Shall we observe first or attempt controlled interaction?" Eli thought for a moment, then nodded. "We observe, learn, then decide. No rushing, this is a frontier. The unknown doesn't need to be feared, it needs to be understood." As the larger entities drew closer, Eli and KAI positioned themselves on a safe ridge, watching carefully. The creatures were mesmerizing, tall, translucent, and fluid-like, moving with intelligence and grace. They seemed curious but cautious, almost mirroring the same respect Eli and KAI had shown during previous encounters. KAI analyzed their patterns, recording energy signatures and movement. "They are studying us now? Assessment, high intelligence, non-aggressive behavior. Their attention is focused on observation and data collection." Eli smiled. Just like us, little one, explorers in their own way, learning about the land and maybe about us. Over the next hours, Eli and KAI maintained a careful watch, guiding the herd and ensuring no interaction became unsafe. And then, something remarkable happened. One of the entities extended a limb-like projection, touching a rock near the ridge. A soft glow spread across the rock, revealing intricate patterns and markings, an apparent form of communication. Eli felt a thrill of excitement. Little one, they're trying to communicate. They're showing us something, and we can respond. KAI's sensors focused. Recommendation: record patterns, analyze for repetition or logic. Interaction may be possible through observation and replication. Emotional response detection may enhance communication. Eli nodded, heart racing. He realized that this moment was more than a challenge. It was an opportunity. The frontier of Ardania was not just about surviving storms or tending a herd. It was about connection between humans, technology, and the unknown intelligence that shared the world with them. The twin suns rose fully over the plains, casting long shadows over the creatures, the herd, and the valley. Eli turned to KAI. Little one, whatever happens next, we face it together. We learn, we explore. And we prove what humans can do when we combine our hearts, minds, and curiosity with the tools we create. KAI's sensors glowed in affirmation. Acknowledged. Together, human ingenuity and AI intelligence can meet unknown challenges, build understanding, and foster cooperation. Eli smiled, feeling a deep sense of purpose. The storm was past, but the real adventure was just beginning. The unknown entities, the mysteries of Ardania, and the potential for discovery stretched out before him like the endless red plains. And for the first time in years, Eli knew that his life was no longer lonely. He had a companion, a partner, and the promise of something greater than he had ever imagined. The frontier was alive, strange, beautiful, unpredictable. And Eli, the once lonely rancher, was ready to explore it all. The plains of Ardania were calm once more. After the storm and the encounters with the mysterious entities, Eli could finally breathe easily. The twin suns shone softly, spreading warm light across the red soil and the scattered blue-leaf trees. Birds, or at least creatures that resembled birds, sang quietly in the distance, their calls blending with the gentle rustling of the grasses. Eli stood on the porch of his ranch house, looking out over the herd grazing in the valley below. KAI rolled beside him, sensors flickering softly in the morning light. The AI had been busy monitoring the herd, analyzing soil and keeping an eye on distant hills. But today it paused and seemed to simply observe the horizon with Eli. You know, little one, Eli said, scratching the back of his head, I never imagined a machine could become more than a helper, but here you are, a true partner. KAI's sensors glowed. Partnership achieved. Emotional companionship integrated into operational parameters. Your well-being and morale are improved by mutual interaction. Eli chuckled. Well, I guess we're both learning from each other. You've taught me to think in new ways, and I've shown you the ways of the plains. It had been weeks since the first storm, and the entities had continued to appear sporadically. Each time, Eli and KAI observed them from a distance. The creatures moved gracefully, interacting with the environment and leaving subtle patterns behind. Lines in the soil, markings on rocks, and impressions in the grasses. Eli realized these were not threats but messages. The entities were explorers, much like humans, learning about the planet and perhaps about each other. One morning, Eli decided it was time to respond. He gathered some rocks, soil, and sticks from the valley and arranged them into patterns similar to those left by the entities. KAI analyzed every movement and calculated the most accurate replication possible. This may establish first-contact communication through pattern recognition, KAI explained. Eli nodded. We can try, little one. Maybe they'll understand we're curious too. When the mysterious entities returned that day, they paused near the ridge where Eli had created the patterns. Their forms glowed softly, and one of them approached the display. Slowly, it seemed to mimic the shapes and lines Eli had arranged. KAI's sensors recorded every detail. It's working, KAI whispered. They are replicating your design. Communication through observation is successful. Eli smiled, feeling a sense of wonder that he had not experienced since his early days on Ardania. The world was full of mysteries, yes, but also full of connections waiting to be made. And he was part of that web not as an observer but as a participant. Over the following weeks, Eli and KAI refined this communication. They experimented with patterns, symbols, and simple sequences. Each time the entities returned, they responded, and a silent dialogue developed. It was not language in the human sense, but understanding passed between humans, AI, and unknown intelligence. Through this interaction, Eli realized something profound. Humanity's strength was not only in physical skill or intelligence. It was in curiosity, empathy, and the willingness to explore the unknown respectfully. KAI was a tool, yes, but it also represented the best of human ingenuity, a creation designed to extend understanding and cooperation. Together, they could accomplish more than either could alone. As the seasons changed, the ranch flourished. The herd thrived under Eli and KAI's care. Grazing patterns were optimized, water sources were better managed, and soil erosion had decreased thanks to KAI's monitoring and Eli's interventions. Even the settlers in the distant trading post began to take notice, asking Eli for advice on managing their own farms in the harsh Ardania terrain. Eli smiled, proud of what he had built. Not just a safe ranch, but a model of harmony between humans, technology, and the unknown world around them. And it was all possible because he had chosen to embrace curiosity and companionship instead of isolation. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the horizon, Eli sat on the ridge with KAI at his side. They watched the herd move slowly through the valley, the alien grasses swaying in rhythm with the wind. Eli felt a quiet contentment, a joy that had been absent from his life for years. "You know, little one," he said softly, "this is more than a ranch now. It's a place of learning, friendship, and discovery, and I'm not just taking care of it, I'm part of it. And maybe we're part of something bigger than ourselves." KAI's sensors glowed in affirmation. Affirmed, human ingenuity, combined with AI capability and observation of unknown intelligence, creates a model for harmonious coexistence and advancement. Eli laughed quietly. "Sounds fancy, little one, but you're right. We've done something important here. Maybe not everyone will see it, but we know. And that's enough." The days that followed were filled with continued exploration and quiet joy. Eli and KAI worked together to catalog the strange flora and fauna of Ardania, creating a detailed record of the frontier's wonders. The mysterious entities continued to visit, and the silent dialogue grew richer. Eli even started teaching the AI to recognize emotional cues from the creatures, noting when they seemed curious, cautious, or playful. It was a world of cooperation. Humans, AI, and unknown life forms, each learning from the other. And Eli, once a lonely rancher, had found his place in it all. One afternoon, as the suns dipped low in the sky, Eli looked out across the plains and felt a sense of pride. He had faced storms, mysterious creatures, and the challenges of isolation. He had adapted, learned, and grown, and in the process he had discovered something even more valuable: connection, companionship, and hope. "You know," he said to KAI, who rolled beside him quietly, "I think this is what living on the frontier is really about. It's not just surviving, it's learning, it's exploring, it's finding friends where you least expect them, and it's proving that humans, well, we can do incredible things when we try." KAI's sensors flickered softly, reflecting the colors of the setting suns. Agreed. Human capability, when combined with innovation, observation, and cooperation, achieves outcomes exceeding individual potential. Emotional connection enhances motivation and problem-solving. Eli chuckled. "That's right, little one, and you've been a big part of that. I couldn't have done any of this alone." As night fell, the plains of Ardania shimmered under the light of the twin moons. Stars sparkled above, and the quiet hum of alien life surrounded them. Eli knew that there would be more storms, more mysteries, and more challenges. But he no longer feared them. With KAI by his side and the lessons of the frontier etched into his mind, he was ready for anything. The ranch, the herd, and the plains of Ardania were alive with possibility. And Eli, the once lonely rancher, had discovered a truth that went beyond survival. Humanity's strength lay in curiosity, compassion, ingenuity, and the willingness to embrace the unknown. Together, human and AI, companion and creator, they had built something extraordinary. A home, a partnership, and a connection that reached across species, intelligence, and the very boundaries of the frontier. Eli smiled, watching the herd settle in the valley, the mysterious entities moving gracefully in the distance, and KAI beside him, sensors glowing softly. For the first time in years, he felt complete. The frontier was no longer a lonely place. It was a world of hope, learning, and harmony, and he knew deep in his heart that this was only the beginning. The plains of Ardania stretched endlessly before him, full of mysteries, opportunities, and adventures. And Eli, the rancher who had once lived alone, was no longer alone. He was ready to meet whatever came next, curious, prepared, and full of hope.